Oh, fuck. I forgot the gecko head. Is it all right if we AI it in?
Behold, some horrifying AI recreations of Therapy Gecko. And here's the actual Therapy Gecko. Human name, Lyle Drescher, and here he is interviewing Doja Cat. In under 5 years, he built a whole career and multi-million person audience by live streaming therapy sessions with random strangers and countless celebs. In our very first rock bottom episode, we're going to explore Lyle's origin stories, existential depression, and how to make the most of it, from finding community, acceptance, and managing mental health, plus various other rabbit holes. So let's begin.
If I understand correctly, you were living in your parents' basement at the
I
time.
was, yeah. I raised $41 to buy a $61 gecko suit. And since then, actually, I went and I Venmo'd back everyone double their money.
That's
So,
a
like,
good
which
return.
I think that's a pretty good return on investment times two.
I mean, maybe I'm invested in the wrong things.
Oh, trust with the market. I mean, you could go on GoFundMe and see if there's any crazy, stupid things going on, and give a bunch of crazy people $1 on the GoFundMe and to help them build a helicopter out of toothpaste or whatever, and maybe that could do something.
That's a good way to spend your tithes.
Yeah.
Since you got to give 10% of it away to good cause anyway.
It's true. It's true.
Allocate a percentage to GoFundMe campaign.
It's true. Dude, I love this. Oh, it's in my back pocket. Yo, this thing is awesome. I love this. Thank you so much for making
Oh,
this.
thank you.
I love it. It says Therapy Gecko on it. I had a moment with my friend yesterday. I'm a pretty ADHD guy, and my friend is also a fairly ADHD guy. And we're sitting at a pizza shop, and he's like tweaking a little bit, and he's like, I oscillate between overstimulated and understimulated. And he's like tweaking. He's like, I need something. I don't know what. And that's how you get into like eating a bunch of candy and stuff all the time. And he was just like, kind of like, I need something. And so I had a little fidget Rubik's Cube,
Yeah.
and I handed it to him, and he started playing with it, and he went silent for like 30 seconds. And he was like, I hate that this worked, you know? Like, I went to the zoo and I saw monkeys like batting around a fucking thing. And it's this beautiful thing. But it's like that is inherent in our monkey brains. Some people's version of being a monkey swatting a thing in a cage is starting a venture capital fund. But, that's what it all boils back down to.
So we're just monkeys trying to swat at things.
I think we're just monkeys trying to swat at things. Yeah. Yeah. We have our own unique human stuff that's on top of that, but it doesn't replace that. Still, we're the monkey brain with some human shit on top, but we still are at least half monkey.
And we sweat like monkeys too.
Oh yeah, I'm sweating my balls off.
This is the first ball sweat day in New York City, I think.
Yeah, dude.
Like it's that weather right now when you're in the subway, your balls start sweating.
You're gonna have to sign up for the Patreon to see that.
By technical definition, you are
Yeah.
a furry.
Sure, yeah. If a furry is like a schlubby looking dude who dresses up as an animal to feel more in control of his life.
Well, let's talk about that. You started a GoFundMe campaign in your parents' basement. You raised
$41
to buy a $61 suit.
Yeah.
Fast forward 5 years. From a vanity metric perspective, you have 1 million followers on Insta, 600 on YouTube, 2.5 mil on TikTok. And the biggest thing, which you shared with me the other day, is you can buy $20 smoothies without thinking. I mean, I think that alone is the definition of success.
Well, everything is more, even like national brands are more expensive in New York. So like if you go to Chipotle in Baltimore and you go to Chipotle like here in Manhattan, it's like one's 13 and one's like one, you just get a regular, I get queso and I get a Diet Coke. I'm spending $22 out of there.
Guacamole.
No, I don't. I had queso, and if I'm doing like I double meat usually, yeah.
So you're double meat and queso.
Double meat and
Wow.
queso.
The Chipotle economy is a really good indicator of one's success in life, but also the state of the economy.
Sure, yeah.
Because, we can go back as far as, high school, middle school, and remember paying $7 for a Chipotle.
But I things that cost $1, I think will continue to always cost $1. Like when there's a dude on the subway and he's like, I'm selling bottles of Gatorade for $1. I don't think that guy's gonna ever raise his prices. Maybe it will. I don't know.
It's kind of like the Costco hot dog.
Yeah.
The dude selling bottles of water on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
it's kind of genius, right? Because the guy on the subway selling bottles of water for $1, he's usually doing it with swag. So, you are inclined to tip him. which is how the economics of the Costco hot dog works, which is we have a low priced item that gets you in the store and then you end up spending more. He's using the same economics as the Costco people.
What's that guy really selling?
He's selling a vibe.
Selling a vibe.
You see a dude on the subway and he's yelling across the car to be like, I'm selling the bottle. And like you secretly wish you had his confidence. And you're like, I want to support this art this man is doing.
I'm going to support our art by getting out a sun umbrella.
Oh, sure. That's
Wait.
nice. I like this. I feel like we're my neighbor Totoro right now.
Let's go back to you being in that basement. What was going through Lyle's mind and his day to day?
Well, the pandemic had just happened and I was in my mom's basement, and I had been working in Atlanta for 2 months at Adult Swim, which was like the internship that I had been wanting since I was like 14. I applied every single semester I could get in. I annoyed a bunch of people on Twitter to ask for recommendations. I fought really hard to try to get that internship, and I finally got it. And I was in Atlanta for 2 months. The pandemic happened. I went home. All of the interns, like in all of Warner Media, all but like 5 interns got fired. And I was like one of the 5 that didn't get fired for some reason. And so I continued to work there. And then my internship got renewed. I was very lucky. I was making clips for comedians. So I was working for a comedian named Stavros Halkias and then another comedian named Mark Normans. And I was editing their podcasts and helping them make clips. My dad is a bankruptcy lawyer, and I was helping him with his YouTube channel, and I was doing the Gecko. So I was doing all 5 of those. I was just in my mom's basement, and I mean, honestly, my mindset was like, I'm going to try to work as much as I can to save as much money as I can in my mom's basement so that in a year from now, when we're all back to business, I'm in a good position to kind of do the things I want to do. I kept thinking that like, okay, after, it's a weird, spooky time, but it's not going to be forever. We're eventually going to get back to doing things. And I'm in a good position right now to kind of do all this online crap to make it so that I'm set up well for when stuff happens. I'll shout out my mom for letting me live in her basement for that long. That was really nice. It was a privilege. How do you repay her?
With love.
How do I repay my mom? Shit, how do I repay my mom?
Mom.
I guess I do. I have a much better relationship with my mom now that I'm not financially dependent upon her. I knew that was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen. Because I think I had somewhat of contentious relationships with my mom. Well, I think everyone has, at some point, contentious relationships with their parents, regardless of how amazing their parents are.
Yeah.
I knew that once our lives weren't intertwined by nature of me living at her house, living in the same place that she lives, and her feeding me food, that we could build a relationship that was more oriented human to human. I don't think we have. I call her very often, and I am eternally grateful for the role that she has played in any amount of success that I've had in my life.
It's funny how our parents shape us. I don't know if they even mean to know how they're shaping us, but it's all different ingredients.
They shape us sincerely. I was going to tell a story about my dad that I was writing down this morning. What about like your parents shaping you? I try to be optimistic in general. I think it is somewhat of a tenet of like the content that I make. Not like toxic positivity, everything's going to be okay type of thing, but like I generally attempt to have optimistic views of things. When I'm at my best, that's what I'm doing. And I'm not always at my best. A lot of the times I'm agitated and pissed off.
At bottom sometimes.
Yeah. And I was just thinking about this morning when Rebecca Black was going viral for Friday. She was going viral for Friday. I was in like middle school. My sister was too. And, everyone was like shitting on her. And my sister and I we were showing my dad the music video for Friday. And we were like, isn't this so horrible? And my dad was watching and he was like, I think this is really nice. It plays into how excited people get for the weekend. And I was thinking about that this morning and I was like, oh, I do shit like that. I try to have that kind of like perspective on things of like, what's the positive flip of this? And I'm like, oh, I think that's just like a DNA thing I get from my dad.
Why do you think we collectively chat on Friday?
Because Okay, I'm ripping something that I listened to in a podcast this morning, but it puts words to something that I do agree with, which is that I think human biological wiring is incentivized for negativity.
Mm.
Because for the longest time, we lived in the woods, and if you saw a rustling in the bushes, there was greater upside in believing that the rustling behind the bushes was a predator and therefore avoiding it, as opposed to it being like food or some shit and going towards it. And so we've evolved with negativity, both on an individual level and a societal level, not because of any fucking whatever thing, but just because of like our biological evolution and programming. We've evolved to become extremely negative, which doesn't serve us well in modern society. And so that's why we shat on Friday, is because it made us feel better about ourselves a little bit more.
I hear she's doing good now.
She's doing great. She's awesome, right? She could have let that be the end, and she could be working in one of these stupid finance buildings right now. She's on tour now. She had infinite people telling her to kill herself, and she did an awesome rebrand. It was great. You know, a lot of people, they think that whatever they've been labeled as already is just what they are forever. But look at her. She just decided to be whatever she wanted. It worked and it paid off immensely. Great.
I think what's interesting is a lot of us look at success stories of people and they're like, oh, they had this like overnight break. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you started this thing and took advantage of something during the pandemic. You must be so smart. It sounds like you're actually working on this type of humor, this type of vibe, even in high school when you're into adult swim.
There's definitely a thread there. I mean, I started making YouTube videos in 2008 when I was 10, or maybe 2007 when I was 9, like 9 or 10. So I've been making videos and putting them on the internet for like 12 years at that point. And I've been doing weird stuff. I just kept doing it.
Did you ever second guess what you were doing? Like when you were being creative and putting yourself out into the world before anything took off?
I've second guessed myself in a lot of personal ways, but I had always, I think I had always had a plan, because I was like, look, I just like doing this stuff. And it's like, if I need to do something else for money, I'm okay with that. But I always knew I wanted to do something. There was nothing to second guess. I wasn't aiming for any other result other than to do this thing. So I've second guessed myself in terms of my own personal self-esteem. But if we're talking in terms of like making it professionally in the universe of making stuff, the definition of that being making enough money that you're doing it so that you're not doing something else, I never really thought about that, because I was always just like, I'll just do something else for money and just do this because it's what I do, I guess.
Did you ever feel like when you were starting out that maybe you were underappreciated or undervalued when, you know, you're putting your heart and soul into a YouTube video?
I made a few videos where I was like, even looking back now, I'm like, this was really funny. I don't know why people didn't catch on. I just think I don't think I played it into the right medium, or there was no short form video algorithm. It was much harder, I think, to go viral back then than it is now. But no, there's some shit back there where I am like, this is pretty funny.
We'll put the link in the description.
And then there's of course shit that's I'm like, I'm embarrassed. I've been putting this on unlisted.
So when you put your heart and soul into this video, you click the release button, you're excited to buy it, and you're like, okay, this has got to take off. And then, you know, crickets. How did you feel at the time? Did you have any doubts about what you were doing?
I'm trying to tap into an honest answer to that question. I've experienced what you're getting at a billion times. I guess I just don't have strong access to what those feelings were like when I was making those videos. And also my current philosophy on that feeling has evolved significantly, such that I feel less in touch with maybe what my philosophy on that feeling was when I was first making the videos. I've been playing times like I thought a gecko clip was good, and then it didn't do well, and I was like, what the fuck? I thought this was good. But nowadays, I'm always just like, just keep making the videos.
Just do the reps, I mean, you got a really consistent publishing schedule. It seems like every few video, every few days.
Somewhat. I've highly categorized what I'm doing now, because I'm making this new format of travel videos. I would be stoked if those videos found a significant audience, you know, and I guess I have the numbers in my head that I would be satisfied with, but even that concept in general, I'm finding to be stupid.
Yeah. Well, I loved your recent Japan video.
Oh, thanks, man.
Where you just walked with this random guy. Well, not random. I'm sure he's a good friend of yours now. But
Yeah, Jason, he's
someone
a
who
homie.
reached out,
Yeah.
Jason. And it was beautiful because you mentioned that, you're on this one hand, you're facing some existential dread. But on the other hand, you're having one of the most beautiful trips.
Yeah. It was really nice. I mean, that was a classic internal is the reflection of the external thing. I was doing like visibly horribly during that trip and we live streamed it. And I kind of, I think, alluded to it. And people in the chat were like, don't worry, man, you got this. Only like 5 more miles to go. And I'm like, I fucking wish that I was depressed because of this walk being too hard. I wish that was what I was upset about. Dear God. I would kill a person to be upset about being tired on this walk. I was in, it's called like existential depression, existential anxiety. It was hitting me really hard in ways that I didn't even really go into in that video.
What triggered it? And is it something that's just kind of always been around? You mentioned, with your creating, you've always been consistent, just doing the reps, but in your personal life, it hasn't always been that way. So what's been the source of certain dread? And
the existential element of it is within the last few years. I think we're the same age, right?
30. How old are
30.
you?
I'm 27. We're comparatively young to like how old you can be and still be alive. But, once a little bit of time passes, the existential element comes in to meet the depression. The depression element has been there for as long as I can remember. But then when the depression element hit the existential element and it got fucked. The existential element came in because I had just been touring a lot and I went to Japan because I was going to be in this relationship with someone and it didn't end up working out. And I thought I was going to live there. And then when I realized I wasn't, the Gecko numbers started to go down a little bit. I was just like, I don't know what the fucking rest of life is going to be like. I have no path forward. I was very lonely. And I didn't know what the fuck I was going to do to make it so that I'm around people. I was terrified. I'd read all these Reddit posts of people being like, I'm 56 years old and I have no friends. But then also, look, we're in Manhattan and you walk around and you look in the window of a thing and you see a 56-year-old guy at a table with a bunch of other 56-year-olds. You're like, okay, this is possible. I mean, so it happens in places that are not as full of insanely rich people as Manhattan too, but I was struggling with what am I going to do to continue to have myself be a part of the world? And that was the logistical thing that was the logistical match. But the fire of the existentialism was everyone around me is dying and it's terrifying. We're all in an insane cosmic predicament. Why am I me and I'm not you right now? Why am I me and why has my life been what it's been and I'm not in the brain and the body and the consciousness of someone else? Why is my consciousness at this timeline and why am I not in 1864 or whatever? Like all these questions of like that you can't answer. They started to hit me because that's what happens when you have too much time on your hands and you think too much. You start whatever. And I was like, oh, I'm in like a Coen Brothers movie. I'm in like a psychedelic insanity. And I was on my Instagram and I watched an Instagram story and my friend Kevin posted like a photo of like a band that he likes. And he was like, this song is really good. And I remember seeing the Instagram story and being like, how is anyone thinking about anything other than these questions right now? How do you have it in you to be like, is it because people are stupid? Is it because I was wrong about all these things? But I was like, how do people have it within them to think about anything other than the fact that we're all dying? And it's not even like, it's whatever you are. If you're Donald Trump and you're in the high tower or no form of living conscious thing is exempt from living within these questions. It's like the great equalizer. How the fuck is anyone thinking about anything other than this? It's terrifying. And it was lonely and scary. And there's a loneliness to being trapped in your own brain.
And you would tell people and they'd just be like, okay, cool. And
you tell people, some people go, okay, cool. Some people go, thank God someone else is talking about this.
And one of the things that you mentioned in your Japan video was that when you realize that if you just stop thinking and start doing, that was a huge unlock.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was going through this, like, that's where my brain was at. And I had a good February, March, April, little bit of May, where I was like, the only way to escape these is insanity is to kill myself. Consciousness, if it becomes this horrifying nightmare, that's why people kill themselves. It's because it's like,
How close did
there's
you
no.
get to doing that?
I actually don't think I ever got particularly close to killing myself, but I was obsessed with it. I was obsessed with like I would read about suicide. I was obsessed with the Wikipedia page for like people who committed suicide in various years. Like I went to like who committed suicide in all of 2024 and like why and whatnot. So I was obsessed with it. And I didn't realize it wasn't normal. It's not normal to have like suicidal thoughts all the time.
Or like
And
suicidal research and
suicidal
analysis.
research and stuff. Doing is part of it. But I also think like honestly, let me tell you something. I feel great right now. For the past like month and or so, I've been feeling great. I never thought I would be. I thought I was dying. I genuinely never thought I would be able to like have a conversation without thinking about these things or laugh at anything or enjoy anything or we're downstairs where the co-working's happening. There's lots of people having a conversation that's like, did you see what was that episode of whatever last night? And there's another guy's like, yeah, it was good. And the other guy's like, yeah, it was a normal kind of conversation that you would have. I thought I would never be able to exist as a normal human being in society ever again. I thought I was too far gone, and I'd taken a space helmet off, and you can't put it back on. I genuinely, honest to God, felt that way. I'm having lots of normal conversations nowadays.
Like right now. Would you say that was your rock bottom moment?
Yeah, those are the scariest 3 days of my life. I mean, I've had moments of other things in my life that were like about there, but this is terrifying. Yeah, it's terrifying.
If you were to go back to yourself at that moment and tell yourself something, the thing with that question is even when we're in the darkest places, we might not actually want to listen to any real advice. But if you could try to convince that person, knowing that maybe they're in their own headspace and their own spiral, what would you still say to that person?
I wouldn't go back and tell myself anything because I don't think there was anything I could have told myself. I think it was just a thing you have to live through. It's just through. I mean, that time moves linearly. You just keep going. I guess one thing I would maybe say in that video, I said doing and not thinking. It's an amalgam of things that gets you past that. And doing is one of them, but like, I still think about these things. I still have these thoughts and none of them I'm still going to die. All the factual information, the objective logos of the things that drove me crazy have changed in no way, shape, or form from now to when I was at my rock bottom. But through an amalgam of things, my day-to-day perception of them has changed a lot. You know, I still think about these things actually, and I'm still amazed by them, and I'm still often depressed by them. But I feel better than I ever have in my life, truthfully. And it is a result of doing things. I mean, having this co-working space to come to has been great. Maybe I'll make an ad for Versy where it's like, don't kill yourself, join Versy instead.
Ooh.
Being here has been part of an overall thing of like forming a routine that you like and having a goal in mind. So, I made that Japan video and people resonated with it. And it was a new format of video I'd never tried before. And so now I'm like, oh shit, I'm going to just keep making this format of video. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to find like some co-working space where I can edit videos when I'm not shooting so that I can be around other people and be less lonely. And I started taking medication. That was huge. I started taking Vyvanse for ADHD. It's been great.
What's your prescription?
30 milligrams Vyvanse. It's been medication, being around people, having a sense of direction for your life that feels relatively indefinite. I don't know what comes first in any of these things, but I have a little bit better relationship with the thoughts. When it gets late at night and I get depressed, it creeps back in. I don't know if it'll ever be over. It creeps back in, and it's a thing I feel very in touch with. But I never thought I'd be able to feel good ever, and I feel, again, the best I have in my life so far. But again, it's not I guess I just wanted to say it's not so much the doing, but it's like the perception and the not thinking about the things, but that in the thinking about the things, it's like, yeah, well, I'm going to die, but it's okay. It's destiny. I'm a part of life. I'm honored to live in this little sandwich between oblivion. and
I
it's
mean,
okay.
it's a beautiful sandwich.
It's a beautiful sandwich, you know. I'm honored to live the life I live, and I'm okay.
Community seems to be a common thread of what gets people out of rock bottom or even just accelerates them and takes them to another level in life. And so now you found
I
Trinity
agree.
University. You
Yeah.
probably found other communities as
Yeah,
well.
definitely.
Can you elaborate more on how that's been a multiplier?
Why I've been lucky. I have a lot of communities. I have a friend who owns a comedy club down the street. Shout out to Sesh Comedy. I go there sometimes. There's a bunch of people who hang out there. That's a great community. I have a group chat of 8 friends of mine from back in Maryland. That's a great community. I mean, yeah, you need other people. Not even in like again, a lot of this shit comes down to biological hardwiring, which requires you to be around people. There's like I feel like this is not my joke, but I saw some thing on the internet of someone parodying Brian Johnson,
Oh, that
the guy who wants to live forever, and him being like, I get at least 30 minutes of social interaction a day, and it's like, that is true. You do need that to like be healthy.
Well, it's interesting because you are a gecko, and some would say geckos came before humans.
Yeah.
Now, whether you believe that or not, please debate that in the comments section. We're trying to get some engagement here.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll leave that up to y'all.
For sure.
Humans are hardwired this way. And
Yeah.
so, it sounds like a lot of what you're kind of going back to is just uncovering these human experience truths. Like, we all go through these hard existential places. I don't know anyone who hasn't, frankly.
You don't know anyone who hasn't?
I don't know anyone who hasn't.
You know anyone who you don't you don't think there's people in some of these buildings who don't know that they're gonna die?
Well, I guess rock bottom is different for everyone.
You've never met someone who you're like, I can tell you've never gone insane, and it makes me feel insane. You've never met someone who you're like,
maybe not everyone's been insane, but people have been, going through really hard places where they didn't have hope and they didn't feel good, and they questioned what the hell they were doing and questioning everything.
everyone?
I'd say at least 90% of the population.
Okay, I'll take that. 90%.
Maybe 95.
No, we all know someone who is like been fine forever.
But those people usually end up having some type of burnout crash later.
No, some of them just are fine forever and then die.
All right,
It's
we need
okay.
to dissect them. We need to put them on the table and figure out what's going on.
No, it'll be so frustrating. They'll be like,
We'll feel worse off.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're right.
Let's just be within the bell curve, within 2 standard deviations up or down. Everyone within that is usually going through some type of reckoning.
I didn't mean to make you be so specific. So yes, I agree.
We got the cures seems to be consistent across society. Community, just accepting that, sometimes you're reaping, sometimes you're sowing.
Yeah.
Is there any spirituality that you look for to get insight on or come to these realizations? Or do you learn it all the hard way by just going through the deep shit and finding yourself on the other end?
I just think a lot. I mean, and I don't have definitive answers to any of the questions you're asking, not even from an objective point of view, but just from my own thoughts, because a lot of the shit might just be luck. Straight up, my dad watching Friday, he's just kind of always maintains kind of optimism. And I was lucky enough to come out of his dick. That had nothing to do with me. That's part of what drives the existentialism. Lots of the good and the bad things that have happened to me in my life feel deterministic. But I think that's a somewhat harmful message to spread, because you don't want to spread the message of like, everyone is where they are because of something that they can't control that is deterministic. It spreads the message like, you're fucked, you're going to be fucked forever, you have no agency in anything ever. And like, I think that's a bad message to spread. But it's also harmful to spread the message of like, if you just work hard and you try and you really do it, you can succeed and have a great life. Because that's completely discounts the deterministic and the privilege and the whatever of it all. So the right message is,
what is the right
the message is do what you can within what you got.
It's funny. I had a mentor who said the key to life is just dealing the best you can with the cards you were dealt.
Oh yeah, I think so. I mean, that's why I don't even want to talk about it, because I had great cards. I had great parents. They fucking let me live in their basement for 2 years, sent me to college. Like, even if you are like somebody who makes good decisions, it's like, how much of those decisions are yours?
Mm-hmm.
How much of those decisions are like fucking shit you got from your mom, or how many of bad decisions are like fucking shit you got from your mom or your dad or from being in a certain place at a certain time. I don't think that means you should resign to misery. I think that's a good strategy. I'm an active thought about this a lot, actually.
So you've talked to a lot of people, thousands by now have called in. What is something that you found has been like a common down point for people? And if you could like bucket it, and then what have been hopeful things for people?
Not to avoid the question, although I feel like I've been doing that a lot. But I think the more I do this, the empirical situations and things that people describe has become far less important in answering that question than the person themselves and how they see the world around them. So like a lot of people are like downtrodden about like relationships. And they're like, or, this is classic. Like, I can't find a girlfriend or a boyfriend, or like, oh, this girl. There's so many like 19-year-olds call in and like, oh, this girl won't talk to me. But their perspective on the issue is I think the thread. And the common thread is that some people have like objectively worse things going on than others, but their brain is more apt to handle it. And those people, I hang up the phone being like, I think they'll be okay. And some people are like, I was talking to this girl and she ghosted me and now I'm fucked ever. And I'm like, I'm worried about that guy. You know?
Yeah, I mean, we all go through these like micro pits of despair, and maybe seeing that as part of like the comfort, like
Yeah.
your 3 days in that deep darkness. Do you feel like a part of you died in that to then create something new?
That's very possible. That happening allowed me to accept that I am mentally ill and through that reframe. I only want to talk about my situation because I don't know anyone else's, but in my situation, mental illness is something that can be medicated and mitigated. And I think there's, diagnosis is the first step to treatment, I would say. It gave me, I think, greater understanding of myself, which has allowed me to navigate my life better. You want to understand that you're mentally ill, not so you can like wear it as a badge, but so that you can use your understanding to really do the opposite and help you enjoy life more,
Yeah, I said at the end of the day, like you said, we're all gonna die, so may as well have fun in the process.
Yeah, I think so. I have fun. I used to think my parents were crazy for like sitting at home watching Jeopardy and eating salmon every night, and that was their life. And then I'm like, they were doing it. I was doing it wrong. They were doing it right. You're supposed to have a routine and be a normal person, and it's good.
Should we make a sock puppet?
Sure.
This morning, Eduardo from DoorDash went to Michael's for it,
Oh, that's really nice.
and he got us some really cool stuff. Unfortunately, the hot glue gun doesn't have any glue sticks.
Big hot glue guy.
I feel like life's kind of like a dirty sock, and you just gotta like zhuzh it up a bit.
Yeah.
So we got.
I threw away my old jizz sock.
What makes you have to change out your jizz sock? Oh,
Yeah.
Can you just wash it? If you could be a sock, what kind of sock would you be?
I'd be a Hanes
Sock.
socks.
So when you're getting a $20 smoothie, what smoothie are you usually getting?
Well, actually, no. Lately, I'll get like a $10 one from like a bodega, and it's got banana, almond milk, protein powder, peanut butter.
Supporting local, I see.
Although are the bodegas local? Like, there's got to be some fucking crazy hedge fund that like is anything in New York really local? I'm sure it actually is. I just don't know.
Has private equity taken over bodegas?
Has it?
Has it?
I don't know. I mean, you said you were in Canada before.
Yeah.
What's better, Canada or America?
Ooh, you're putting me on the spot.
There's a right answer, by the way.
I think North America is the best continent on the planet.
That's actually what makes you say that.
Well, you got Canada, you got the Arctic, you have beautiful cultures that have existed on this continent for such a long time. Then you got New York City, you got Florida, you can basically have any tropical fruit you want. And then, you got California, you got Texas, and you got Mexico. Such beautiful people, beautiful souls. So what do you got there?
I guess I'm going to call this a germ. I think this is a little germ.
Little germ?
Yeah.
Does it reflect? This is Gregory. And,
Gregory.
Gregory likes to eat germs. Got like a little tongue but no eyes, because unfortunately we don't have the glue for the googly eyes. But
They can be blind puppets.
Gregory would like to eat your germ.
Would you rather be blind or have 15 eyes?
15 eyes.
Yeah.
What's your answer?
59 for sure. Yeah, I don't know who would pick blinds.
Well, blind people have phenomenal sense perception in other areas.
Yeah.
If you're blind, let us know. Maybe you can be in an episode.
I made this guy.
This is for the thumbnail. Ah. All right.
It was very kawaii.
Kawaii. So yeah, dude, Japan's awesome. I've been there 5 times.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I used to work for an airline. It cost me $60 round trip in business class
Get the tits out of here,
to
really.
get to Japan.
Wow.
And so I'd go every weekend.
From where?
From YYZ, Toronto Pearson Airport.
Would you go every weekend from Toronto?
Well, every second weekend.
Oh, yeah, because if you were in like Vancouver, that'd be one thing.
So there's something about synchronicity. Both 2 months into this job, I'm flying and I meet this wonderful lady at the security line. We both get taken over to secondary. I had like a butter knife in my bag that got confiscated. I think hers was just a false alarm. And then we get onto the plane 2 hours later, we're sitting next to each other, and we yap the entire flight. Like just yap, yap, yap. Turns out she was the travel editor for our national newspaper.
Oh, shit.
I had these crazy airline benefits, and we just started traveling everywhere together.
Oh, that's
And
cute.
she would have some type of hookup because there'd be some type of PR arrangement of like, oh, eat at this restaurant in London or
That's
stay at
awesome.
this place. Saw the world together. We went to 8 countries before I ever visited her apartment.
Where else is on your list of places you want to travel to?
Where I want to go that I haven't been to yet is Madagascar,
Like the movie.
like the movie.
Is that in Africa?
It is in Africa.
Cool.
Well, what we call Africa.
That sounds awesome. I might try to go to Kenya this year.
You have 7 days left to live because, a nuclear bomb is going to go on. What are you doing in those 7 days?
Probably hanging out with my friends and family. Yeah.
Are you taking them anywhere?
If I had 7 days left to live, I'd probably just like spend whatever money I had left. Not whatever money. I'd probably, because I wouldn't want to blow it. I want to leave some shit to people, but I would probably just like fly everyone that I ever cared about to one place and have like a final party or something.
Where would that be?
Probably Maryland.
Maryland.
Yeah.
Where in
That's
Maryland?
where most of my like really close friends and family live. Baltimore.
Baltimore.
Yeah, maybe at the ESPN zone where I almost had my bar mitzvah.
I've only been to Baltimore once, and there's 2 memories I remember. One was my friend. We were walking, she was on her phone, and someone on a moped just yanked it out of her hand. And then we went to this Ethiopian restaurant that doubled up as a strip club.
Oh, cool.
And we didn't know that.
You went to Mike's? No, I'm just kidding. I don't know the name of the place. But Baltimore's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got a harbor. I could see myself maybe living there one day if I ever have a family.
A family.
That's
want
gonna
a
make me
family?
crazy existential. Is if I have a. Yeah, I'd like to at some point. Yeah, but I don't know. What kind of
What's your
work
type?
live
Can
in.
we help you get
What's my type?
yeah.
Do
We also run a matchmatching service. That
you actually run a
sponsored by this
matchmaking
video.
service?
I'm just throwing things out there and seeing what sticks. So
Okay.
as of this moment, yes. I run that.
Who was your first match?
Well, so I did this thing where I talked to 100 strangers in 20 days. And I asked them, what's the biggest problem in your life?
What did they say?
13 of them said they were trying to find a lover. And I would ask them what their type was. So now I'm just kind of collecting this database of people who are also looking for their lovers.
What types were popular?
Someone ambitious, someone who is caring.
I was about to
And a
say
big
someone had to have said like a big ass. Are you married?
I'm single.
That's cool. What's your type?
I know it when I see it.
I'm the same.
So I have one last question for you.
Hit me.
If you're truly a gecko, why is your face green? Shouldn't it be red? Because it's your mouth?